Hey guys, how you doing? The title of this particular broadcast is "Rough Around the Edges" because that's exactly what it is. It's the first of a series of videos from the Omelette News Network. I am not a reporter. I don't have any military connections. I don't have any connections in terms of intelligence. Um, a lot of the information that I share with you comes from what I've been told to do over the last 4 years, which was to do my own research. And in doing so, I've come across quite a few things that are just some stuff I want to share with you and let you know that right now we're in troubling times. But the reality is this: we are in God's hands. Yep, I used the G word. I'm not a Bible thumper though. I want you to know one thing: something is in order. Something is absolutely in control of this whole situation. There absolutely, in my opinion, well, not opinion, my experience is that there is good in this world and there's evil in this world. I believe that evil is in an attempt to take over good. And doing so, what I've been noticing over the last, 24 to 48 hours is that President Trump is, in fact, um, enacting the 25th Amendment. But that's not really where I wanted to start. I wanted to start back because the reality is this. Some several years ago, I don't know the exact time, I had watched a documentary. And in that documentary, I watched a doctor. And he was sharing about how he had gone to Italy to a town, I think it was called Laredo, in Italy, and he'd come across a man, the prophet of Laredo. And it turns out this man was a veteran of the United States military, and he was in this town, and he spent 8 years in this town, sitting basically next to churches and praying. The thousands of masses in Rome or Laredo, where he was at in Italy, and he would pray for the goodwill of mankind. And it turns out that during that time, they actually had I guess, I don't know what you call it when a pope becomes a pope. I don't know if they elect them or whatever that's called. But the truth of the matter is, a pope becomes a pope. And at that time, there was some type of, not catacomb, but it's an area by which in the Vatican, when the pope becomes a pope, they take bricks and they seal up this area. It's an archway in a room or whatever. And people put things on the back of bricks. And then on those bricks, the Vatican prays for those bricks every day. Now I'm bringing up the Vatican because the Vatican is currently in the news in regard to being actually allowing their satellites to be used to decrypt information from our ballots going out of the United States, and then them sending them back decrypted to different parts of the world, and them coming back and being tallied. And the reason I'm mentioning the Catholic Church is this. Um, I am, in fact, my mother is Jewish, my father is Italian. I was raised Southern Baptist in an Irish Catholic neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. So you check that out. Think about that for a minute. I've been fighting since I guess I'm 5 years old in terms of the idea that, well, the Irish didn't like the Italians, Jews, or Baptists. I was the only Baptist that I knew in my neighborhood. P.S. I did go to Bible camp, so there was some stuff that was implanted in me at an early age, and as I got older, I did actually convert to Catholicism with my first ex-wife. Now, I don't consider this the only religion on the planet that has God in it. I mean, whatever your God is, as long as that God is coming from a loving, caring place, God bless you. You know what I mean? That's what it is all about. And in terms of the Catholic Church, I do not believe the entire Catholic Church is bad because some people at the top or wherever have utilized the Vatican to assist in the overthrow of our elections, and allegedly that's what's going on. So I'm here to say that not all Catholics are bad people. That's a fact. I'm not going to condemn the entire religion because of some bad eggs, you know. And it's ironic that I would say that, but you got to break a few to make some news. So the truth of the matter is, getting back to the story of the prophet of Laredo, there was a gentleman who spent 8 years. in one of these towns in Italy, and he sat around and he prayed next to churches. And this doctor went and sought him out because someone mentioned to do that. And if he was in Italy, go see this guy. Turned out, like I said, there was a pope being brought in, a new pope. And at that time, they would take these bricks and they would write a prayer on the back of them or write a name on the back of them. And every, you know, mass that was said, these people were prayed for. Well, one of those bricks was Donald John Trump. I don't know exactly what it said about him, something about God bless Donald J. Trump, but it was put into the wall. It was sealed up. Now, these bricks are put in the wall, they're sealed up forever. And that was 1987. I think it was 1987. I'm not quite sure when it was. Might have been later, 2008. Could have been 2008. Don't quote me on the date. But the truth of the matter is, his name was put inside the Vatican wall when they were praying for him. And ironically, come full circle to find out that the treachery, world treachery, I believe, that exists against Donald Trump has a lot to do with um, the sticking point at this juncture is the Vatican. I thought that was pretty wild. That his name would be in that brick, they'd be praying for him, and they'd be the people that would be the ones that utilize those satellites to get that information back and miscount the election votes tally. Anyway, moving forward from that, we're in a state right now where a lot of people panicked and stricken and things like that. And I also thought to myself, over the last 24 hours, no one's even mentioned something that I'll share with you right now. And it was the simple fact that there came a point a couple of days ago when I believe the electoral votes were in the hands, sole hands of Mike Pence. And I believe that Mike Pence had a choice to make. Mike Pence could choose Biden, or Pence could choose. Basically, I'm cutting through a lot of the ether, and I don't know if I use the right word there, ether. But the truth is, I'm cutting through a lot of the nonsense to just bring it to the point where there actually came a situation in that some senators objected to the count and the tallies, and it was in the hands of Mike Pence to put it to the House of Representatives, I think. And they again, don't quote me on every single thing I say. I'm not the be all end all in terms of the structure of government. But the truth of the matter is, he had an opportunity to choose for to accept those ballots or not, to certify those electoral votes or not, and he did. And what that did was basically to hang Donald Trump and the Patriots and you know the future of America over to the the left wing, and he basically betrayed Donald Trump. Now, if you think about that, for 4 years he's sitting next to the guy's side, and he's his right hand man. And here's my point: we had to let them win. Yep, we had to not have the Supreme Court of the United States of America straightens out and award Trump the presidency. We had to allow all of the things that happened up until the single point where Pence had the decision to make. And he showed in that moment his true colors. Had we not done that, and for any reason whatsoever up to this point, Trump would have won, we would have lost in the end, because his right hand man would have become possibly president in 4 years. Who would be the president in 4 years? If Trump did a good job for the next 4 years as he did this 4 years, and they straightened out all this election stuff, and there was no way to cheat next time, there's a good chance Michael Pence would have been the president, and he would have taken this country and given it away to the same people he tried to give it to this time. So it was meant to be that we came all the way down this road and up to the point where it scared a majority of the people I know to death. They thought that we would be, well, transitioning from constitutional republic with freedom to communism, socialism. But it didn't happen. He showed his colors. Now we don't have to have him involved in our future because he would have been the destruction of our country 4 years from now. That's just a little, what can I say? Observation I made over the last 24 hours. Apparently, and again, I'm no, be all end all in terms of positive, I mean, in terms of 100% proof as far as our president is concerned in terms of the Insurrection Act. But I do believe it is enacted. I do believe that there is some movement in Italy. I do believe that Italy has made an agreement with the United States of America, with Donald Trump. And the agreement was this, I believe. If we are to agree with them that somebody, quote unquote, hacked into their military satellites, because that's what happened. There's a system called Leonard. It's named after Leonardo da Vinci, and it's a military encrypted satellite system that we believe, anyways, there's rumored that Obama spent $403 million back in the day to utilize now during our election, and they couldn't figure out that one piece. How did this information get from these American machines to all over the world and back? Because that's what we were alleging. Well, turns out it was done through the Vatican's military, or I don't know if they're military satellites, but I believe they are, encrypted satellite system. And they even have the person that did it. And they're rounding people up. And there's a rumor that the Pope is under arrest for other crimes, including up until this situation, which we believe he's part of as well. So the goal is that Italy can save face by saying that the satellites were hacked and they turned everybody over. Warrants were signed in Italy by their justice to round up these people. And so I tell people, and I believe this from the beginning, a lot of people lost faith along the way somewhere. I lost faith for about 10 minutes, and I'm not even joking. I totally, now, I haven't spent my entire life with a concrete relationship with God. I haven't. I kind of, I'm not going to sit here and say I did. But through these troubling times, I have found an amazing connection that I fully had faith the entire time that our country struggled with the grave outlook that we could possibly be overrun by socialists. I never wavered. That's not true. I wavered once for 10 minutes. And I know a lot of people that I've been talking to, and my mom in particular. My mom is 85 years old. She's not somebody who was, she lives in a blue state, and she's suffering greatly. And she was so concerned and so worried. I just started talking to her about stuff that I've been hearing. And in doing so, it calmed her down, and she shared with a few people. And I don't necessarily think that I've changed the world at all. And I don't think that the information that I'm bestowing is anything unique or changing the world. But I do believe it is my job as a patriot to the United States of America that I, in fact, share this information with you. Um, so I think as we speak right now, January 11th, I felt really good up until this point. And people were really worried about the 20th. And I told everybody, and I'll say this to you, I believe wholeheartedly, 110%, that there's no way on God's green earth that the left wing is going to see the president in this country. I do believe our president has the authority and the right and has already signed the 25th Amendment uh, in regard to the Insurrection Act, calling martial law, straightening this all out, figuring it all out, putting a new vice president in, and who knows? Who knows? I mean, it sounds so crazy, the idea that like this man would become president again. I think Republicans, Democrats, liberal, they don't exist anymore. The landscape, the political landscape that we knew is gone. There's good, there's evil, and I'm just very, very, very proud and grateful to God and to the, the spirit of our forefathers and the spirit by which tyranny all throughout the history of the United States of America, from the beginning till now, has failed. That our spirit, along with God's, will get us through this. And we will, in fact, retain our freedom. We will, in fact, go on to the most prosperous time in the history of our country. And the biggest thing that weighs in the balance is not me, it's not you, it's not the United States. But if this country goes down, they say the whole world goes down. Another reason why God would stand by us and push us through this thing is because we're not the only ones on the hook. Socialism has never worked. People spit out words like Denmark, socialist, capitalist. Socialism in Denmark is not without its own trouble. I think the per capita income in Denmark and places like that are much, 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 much higher. So they have a greater tax rate, but affects them less. Meaning this: if a guy makes $2,000 and he gets taxed X amount, let's say someone makes $4,000 a month, and the cost of living in Denmark is X amount, say $3,000, say $3,500 to just get through the month, or even to the point where they live in check to check in Denmark, right? That system that disappropriates, appropriates, they call it appropriate, but disappropriates the income, takes that poor person's money, makes them poorer. So everybody gets knocked down and their life gets harder and they're under social, duress. A rich person, say they only have to spend $4,000 a month, $5,000, $6,000 a month. It doesn't even affect them. They can have a much higher quality of life than a regular person. So people would think that it's the rich person in Denmark that suffers the most, but it's not, because if they are making upward to $10,000, $15,000 a month, and they only have to put out $5,000, they still have enough money to retain their lifestyle. Elsewise, people that just do regular menial jobs don't and never will. So Denmark per capita has much richer people. I think I'm right. Therefore, socialism doesn't have the same effect it would in these third world countries, as well as a country like ours that has a middle class, which is gone if that happens. And the lower class is wiped out. And the upper echelons is on its way out too, 70% tax rate. I could be wrong about these facts, but I think that I'm in the ballpark of what I'm trying to say is it never, ever, ever works. China didn't work. Laos, Cambodia, Venezuela. There's a million other countries that I don't even know the names of. Absolutely don't work. It doesn't fly. In theory, it sounds very nice. Everybody's equal, things distributed. We're talking about mind control. We're talking about spiritual control. We're talking about physical control. We're talking about financial control. We're talking about seizing your assets. And within 2 days of this, whatever you want to call this administration here in America, they've already established what they normally do, socialism. I believe I'm correct in this, in saying that they first attack the language. They disavow language. It's very important. You take someone's freedom to say specific words and use specific words and censor those things. You have, again, a apply some type of control over the populace. Over the last couple of days, they did away with. They want to do away with words like mother, father, sister, cousin, brother, niece, uncle, aunt. Your kid comes home from school, you can't call your mom no more or dad. That's just one thing. I also noticed within 2 days, gas went up 30 cents. Now you tell me what that's all about. You tell me why the gas prices went up 25 to 30 cents in 2 days since they've been in thinking they're in power. So here we are. We're left with a march on Washington last week, where millions of people showed up, and a few people, Antifa, I believe, uh, got into the Capitol building. But what they didn't realize was there were a few patriots amongst them that had infiltrated them. And the laptops that were stolen and taken, the information that is on them is in the hands of the white hats, the good people. And that's no coincidence. I mean, it is a coincidence that I'm wearing this white hat. I didn't put it on for that reason. I don't subscribe to me being any part of any movement. But the truth of the matter is that we were right there. We got the necessary, Patriots were in there, and they got the information they needed. I believe they have possession of Pelosi's laptop, and I believe they have other information from that visit, which was, if you can check out the video, you'll notice that the officers kind of let them in. I mean, it's sad that some people died. I mean, there's no excuse for that. But the truth of the matter is, those were not Trump supporters. They were just wearing sweatshirts. One or two people were spotted in several locations during other Antifa and other protests. I mean, it's clear that they're activists. One of them had a tattoo on his hand that looked like a hammer and a sickle. It wasn't. It was actually a video game. A video game that portrays people taking over and overthrowing governments through anarchy. Check that out. So, that information, and with the fact that we waited so Pence could show his hand, we're about ready. And with the revolution, with the alleged forthcoming information about Italy and the use of their satellites, and the actual guy that did it, they have the actual person. I believe there's a lot we don't know. But I do believe that on the 28th of this month, there will absolutely not be John Biden sitting down being inaugurated. That much. Someone said to me, my mother tells me, she goes, from your mouth to God's ears. And I tell her, from God's mouth to my ears. So, I want to thank you all for just listening to this bit of a rant. And this is Mike Adler from the Omelette News Network. You got to break a few to make some news. See you guys soon. And have faith, 100%, and know. And if you don't have enough faith, that's fine. I got enough to carry the planet. And I mean that. I'm not short on faith. God bless America and Donald Trump.